Bienvenidos. Soy la Bruja Espinada, and I am here with your blue Sagittarius moon message. So let's get started. I appreciate your guys' patience with my absence. It's been a very interesting journey on my end. I do work full time. I teach yoga and Pilates on my free time. And of course, I do this on my free time as well. I did have been having some health issues, nothing too crazy, but it does require a good deal of rest. And my physician is ever so keen to remind me. And when I was ready to do the new moon readings, there had been several earthquakes here, which just threw everything off in my home. So it took some time to finally get used to settling, settling back in. But that is the beauty of this reading and this state right now. So at the bottom of the deck, we have the Empress in reverse. Ooh, the Ten of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles. Very, very interesting. So, full moon, Sagittarius, blue moon. There have been quite a few people that have been dragging their feet. If you've been sitting in on my readings for all this time, you understand that there has been a shift in motion, and every single reading has given you that heads up of like, hey, quit dragging your feet. Hey, quit dragging your feet. Pick something. Do it now. And now is the time to no longer drag your feet. If you have seen or have been waiting for a sign and you've been ignoring the signs, just putting it off on coinkydinks, you can't anymore. Sagittarius is here, one of the most stubborn fire signs, I believe, and it is time. You can't drag your feet anymore, honey. There is a fire being lit under your ass, quite literally. And I don't know if you know anything about the temperatures of fire, but when they start to burn blue, they are at temperatures that are beyond measure. So, metaphorically speaking, a blue Sagittarius full moon, that says it all. So, at the bottom of the deck, we continue with Nine of Swords in reverse, King of Pentacles in reverse, the King of Cups right side up, the Magician, Ace of Cups in reverse, Eight of Cups, Death in reverse. Ooh, that's interesting. We don't get that one in reverse very often. Eight of Pentacles, Temperance in reverse, the King of Swords in reverse, Knight of Pentacles, Four of Cups, a lot of cups and swords. Knight of Cups in reverse, Knight of Swords in reverse, the Seven of Swords in reverse, the Seven of Cups in reverse, the Nine of Wands, and the Two of Cups. We're going to stop there for right now. Oh, my eyes set up oddly. Okay. So, I know that this is preaching to the choir, but honey, sweetie, Pooh Bear, my loves, my dears, my friends, you can't keep dragging your feet. You can't keep second guessing yourself unless, I was gonna say, I have an excuse. I have a double Libra, right, in my charts. So, well, I want to clarify and not give in to the stereotype of like Libras are indecisive. It's not that we're indecisive, it is that we are constantly overthinking and weighing things out because, mind you, we are the scales, we are the balances. And if something doesn't calculate into precise balance, it's hard to make that choice without some stability to ensure that it is the right decision, right? So just clarifying our Libra names. But this indecision, it's not even indecision in this point, what's coming out. It's a lot of second guessing. And don't get me wrong, I'm in the same boat with you guys, okay? And this reading isn't for me, I read for you. But in this instance, we have the Empress in reverse. The Empress rarely comes out in reverse, but when the Empress comes out in reverse, it's like you're forgetting the bad bitch that you are. And I'm always here to remind you, you are that bitch. You are that ultimate sovereign of your life. You are the main character of your life. There is no other main characters. You can be a caregiver. You can be a parent. You can be a guardian. It doesn't matter. They are not leading your life. You, that makes you a I don't want to say actor. You're a co-star in that person's personal chapter, right? That doesn't make you the main person in their life. Maybe if there was an infant, but even an infant learns how to utilize their cry to get what they need, right? And eventually they learn how to use their cry to get what they want. So, at a very early age, even babies learn that they are the main character of their life. You need this reminder to remember that you are the main character, always and forever in your own life. Now, why does this need to be said? Because there's a lot of pain, frustration, a lot of resentment, a lot of anger that's showing up here with the Ten of Swords. And it's understandable why you put up with so much, because if you are a caregiver, you have been a caregiver, your identity has been built around caregiving. You are so focused on ensuring that you can continue to provide, right? That's why this is here. There is a lapse in judgment of self at this time, because you are so focused on what has been your active way of living, that you're striving for the same thing, and yet all it's doing is creating unhappiness and resentment and frustration, because a lot of the times you feel bad, whether it's because you were raised in a certain way in which you could not express your frustration, you cannot express your displeasure, you cannot express how you were unhappy because, how dare you? How dare you have feelings? The guilt, that heavy, heavy guilt that is placed upon you, and it's not yours to carry. It's not your burden to bear. And that's why we're here, right? You are striving so hard to build so that no one can ever tell you it's not enough anymore. Let's be real, right? That's why there's a lot of swords here. There's a lot of shit that's not being said, and it's popping up. There's a lot of cups, a lot of swords. Cups being emotions, swords being the communication in which we share these things. And overall, what is it that you're striving for? You're working really hard. And sometimes shit happens. And so you have to work even harder, or at least you feel that you have to. Because you feel that you have to alleviate the torment of someone else. And that's not your job. There's knights here. Now let's, and figuratively, I've always shared this. A knight is a step up from a page. It's meaning you're growing in some stance. But in this instance, all the knights are in reverse. So instead of being figurative, let's be literal at this moment. A knight is someone who fights. They're a warrior. They're someone who is trained for battle. They are strategically, constantly putting their mind to it in order to protect, right? And so in this instance, it's that reminder that a caregiver is not a knight. Can they be? Sure, but they're not a nurse. If you were to think about who the physicians are versus like who a warrior is, their level of training are two completely different things. Can you still battle for people's rights, for people's health, for whatever those views of protecting the unfortunate are? Certainly. But you being the warrior in this reading, if you're catching this reading today, that reading isn't for you. This reading is for the caregiver in you, not the warrior in you. And I've said this before, there's that saying of, and mind you, you can use whatever divine spiritual leader you hail to, but in this instance, there's that saying that goes, God only gives the strongest warrior the heaviest battles, right? And there's been memes that have been shared that state like, God, I don't want to be your strongest warrior anymore. Then quit showing up as a warrior. Quit. If you keep being that, you will keep being that. It's I'm trying to formulate how I want to say this. Let's say you go to Target and you're wearing a red shirt and someone mistakes you for a Target worker. And this is not promoting Target. I actually don't shop at Target very often. But anyways, let's say that you show up wearing red and someone mistakes you for one of the employees. And let's say it's an elderly person and you feel bad for them mistaking you as such. And so you help them. And then someone catches you helping that person. And so they come to you for help. And then someone else sees that and they come to you for help. And then you're attracting all these people because they keep assuming you are an employee. And now you're using that energy and time to help others when it's not your job. Because you allowed yourself to be portrayed as such. You accepted that burden. Now, apply this to life. Let's say your family has relied on you because you found your worth in being a reliable individual. Okay, but now you're being taken advantage of. And you're starting to wonder, why does everyone have to turn to me? Why do you keep letting yourself? And you can be offended by that question being posed to you because then you feel dumb for letting yourself. And it's not there to make you feel dumb. It's there because you have to look at the bigger picture. There's readings that have come out in the past where I've had to explain this. You're looking at it up front. You have to take that step back because let's say it is your bestie. It is like someone else that you talk to that confides in you. that you see the similar pattern and you get frustrated with them because they don't see it, and yet you don't see it in yourself, in your life, and how you don't apply it. That's just how it is. This is not calling, it's not meant to call you dumb or, but it's kind of like, hey, open your eyes, wake up, not monkey see, monkey do, not do as I do, not as do as I say, not as I do. No, 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 no. Apply that to yourself first. Okay? Now, all that to say, there's a lot of resentment building because you're not saying what you want to say. You're not saying what you need to say. And typically when these readings come out, there's always an indicator of being very cautious of learning how to say things, right? Not just like word vomiting all over it and then like causing turmoil within a situation. None of that is showing up. So if you want to avoid that, you better start speaking up now and not just word vomiting, but word vomit is inevitable at this point. But you can't blame anybody but yourself because you've had the opportunities. If you've seen these readings, you've had the messages indicating, hey, you need to start speaking up because you're tired of having to be the one to constantly caregive. This is the King of Pentacles in reverse. You're tired of being money bags. You're tired of being the main resource in which people feed off of. Shut your doors. Set a time limit. You're not Jack in the Box, right? You're not open 24/7. This is not a plug, by the way. You're not one of those donut shops that are open 24/7. You're fine dining, my dear. You can, there's really good restaurants out there, if you think about it, that have a limited time set. And there's some that open, like, there's lots of taquerias, there's lots of deli places. There's also like very fine dining locations where they're open only from a specific time to a specific time. And no matter how much demand there is, they maintain that boundary of, no, this is the day that we rest, this is the day that we stock up, this is the day that we prep. We need that time off. And yet they still get all the service that they need to continue because that's how good they are. You're that good. Why do you have to be a 24-hour fast food chain with no rest? You're the only employee there. Even banks close at a specific time. And understanding that will get you to be the King of Cups. Someone who does not have to worry about pouring from an empty cup because you have set those strict boundaries and guidelines to your access to you, and you will be more emotionally healthy for it. Because how is it that people can tell you with strict confidence no, but you're not allowed to be in the same position to say no? You need to build that emotional tolerance for yourself. And it's possible because we have the Magician here. You are capable of switching things up for yourself if you let yourself. We have the Ace of Cups in reverse. But you're too afraid to take that first step in healing your own emotions. And maybe you're scared of your emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't be scared forever. Your emotions live within you. Where are you going to hide from? That's why you're so busy focusing on other people, because you're too afraid to begin taking care of your emotions. And then that word vomit that comes up later on, you're going to want to blame other people. They pushed me to that point. You let yourself be pushed to that point because you absolutely refused to set any boundaries. You need to heal. You have the strength and ability to heal, but you're too afraid to heal. We have the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is very interesting to see the Ace of Cups in reverse and then the Eight of Cups right side up. How do I want to say this? Chances are you have a friend or a group of friends. It could be a small circle, right? It doesn't have to be a whole bunch of friends. But you are being reminded that in this instance, what am I trying to say? Sometimes, and the reason why I say sometimes is because, believe it or not, I do this too, and my friends, a lot of my close friends are the same way. We do not bring our problems to anyone else. And yet, we do have this habit of saying, if I'm always here if you need anything. And yet, there's no one reaching out while they're going through their strongest struggle. Because if they're truly your good, close friends, and they're much like you, and that's why you guys get along, and you avoid putting burden onto someone else because you know that they have been in that burden, you don't want to burden them, right? It's just that burden. It's the feeling of burden. It's you're withdrawing in a lot of this. But when the Eight of Cups comes out, especially with the Death in reverse that's following, right? Again, you're too afraid to speak up. But in the same instant, it's kind of the same thing. But this is encouraging you to gather people and say, hey, if you have the space, I need it to word vomit without judgment. And you can tell them, hey, like, I just need to be heard. No judgment. And then afterwards, you can let them know, like, yes, I'm looking for solutions, or I just needed someone to hear me out, or yes, I need a hug. Whatever it is that you need, they're there for you. Don't escape and keep withdrawing. This means that you need to reach out to that community because you need to purge. This death is that indicator of like the change is beginning to happen, and you need to embrace that the change is happening, that letting go, the purging, the releasing. It has to happen, and it has to happen now. The Eight of Pentacles, and it's beautiful to see the 8 and then an 8 right side up again. The Eight of Pentacles is that building of your resources. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily mean monetary resources, but it could be other kinds of resources. It could be different types of, what's the other term that I typically use? Anywho, so resources. So let's say in the purging that you're sharing with your friends, are like, hey, you know what? I have someone that can help you with this, and they'll provide you with a connection, right? They give you that a new source. They open up a pathway for you to help alleviate any of those obstacles or burdens that you may be going through. Sharing that is what's going to help, and a lot of it will stem from not being afraid to speak up, not allowing yourself to be withdrawn and pulling back, especially during this time when you genuinely need someone to hear you out, because you're so guarded in keeping yourself from experiencing your feelings. And hey, you know what? Yes, it sucks. Feelings suck sometimes. And yet, when you don't talk about it, the worse it's going to get, right? It's not a bad thing. I'm trying to think of how I want to transition this, because it's starting to repeat itself at this point. So we have the Temperance in reverse. And the Temperance in reverse is not, it's indicating the time of self-healing, right? It's indicating the time of self-healing. It's indicating being patient with yourself, being patient with the process. It's still patience. But embracing that this imbalance can no longer be carried, right? And the need for self-healing is at its biggest point now. It, like I said, it's starting to repeat itself, because now we have the sorry, all my cards fell. Hold on. Here we go. We have the King of Swords in reverse. Now, sorry, it's my back is bothering me right now. So, what was I saying? The King of Swords. Imbalance. Self-healing. Again, King of Swords are reverse. Usually the swords, again, is the indicator of communication. That reminder that I don't want to go about it. I lost my train of thought. Jeez Louise. Okay. Okay. Understanding this imbalance, understanding the need for self-healing. And then you have the King of Swords in reverse. And it can mean any number of things. But in this instance, we are coming to terms with that truth. And the person that you cannot lie to anymore is yourself. And that's why this is here. I'm frustrated because I realized all these cards fell and then they fell out of order. Gosh. Okay. We'll make do. You can't lie to yourself anymore. You have to start being honest. What you can no longer handle. Where you are in that breaking point. Can you still salvage this? Again, you have the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Swords, both in reverse. You have the Knight of Pentacles. I don't remember if that was in reverse. Jeez Louise. Anywho, I know for sure that the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Cups were in reverse. Now, especially with the King of Swords in reverse, you're getting to that point in which your lack of acknowledgement, which is, again, that inner truth here, that lack of acknowledgement of where you are here is gonna fuck you up. You need to cut that shit out. So, because we have the Nine of Wands, and the Nine of Wands, I'm going to stop with these because, again, I don't remember how they came out, and it's going to fuck me up with how I read it. But I know the Nine of Wands was right side up. The Nine of Wands, you have the means and skills to be able to move forward in a successful manner, right? But we have the Two of Cups, and I know that was right side up. The Two of Cups is the decision. It's an emotional decision. Are you going to proceed in walking towards your health and the helpful tips you received today, or are you going to drink from the same cup, the same unwashed, used cup that's gonna just keep making you sick on the inside? It's your choice. What cup are you going to pick up today? Starting today. So, Mighty Fates, what additional message do you have? What additional lesson do you have for this reading? But yeah, it's a lot of the same message. There's a lot of hindrance, a lot of dragging the feet. You can't drag your feet anymore, sweetie. You just can't. We have, sorry, I just find it so funny. I can't make this shit up. We have the Warrior. We have the Warrior, and then we have Surrender. It's a beautiful card. I don't think I've ever pulled Surrender or have had it fall out. Let's see. But it's very interesting. The Warrior. Here we go. Pulling the Warrior card indicates a need for strong, fiery energy and internal power. The Warrior is a call to action as opposed to just a state of mind. It asks you to examine not just oppressive people in your life, but also the larger systems within the world. Then get to work. The Warrior is not about complacency. In identifying where you need to stand up more. You may make those around you feel uncomfortable and defensive, but you must continue forward. The Warrior can have a cutting message. It is saying, I see what you are doing, but what else can you do? The Warrior sacrifices parts of themselves for humanity at large. The balanced Warrior fights to create positive change, but many go about it in questionable ways. They are strong and resilient, but do not have fear when they go up against their oppressors. When the Warrior is imbalanced, they can be very inflammatory and hyper-aggressive. They can push those away that may be of use to them and easily bypass things that are good for them. They don't understand the concept of pick your battles and react with equal intensity no matter how big or small the issue is. So apt. So remember, you're not just a warrior. So yeah, you can be. But what else are you? Let's continue with Surrender. Here we go. Surrender. I genuinely love this card. It's so beautiful. You often hear the word surrender being thrown around intentional communities, and rightfully so. This is one of the primary lessons we are on earth to learn. It is also one of the most challenging. To surrender is to have our human nature take a back seat. It is not easy, and we can find ourselves saying, I know how I should look at this. But we struggle when it comes to actually embodying it and putting it into practice. We are working with larger concepts. It is important to break it down. Rather than embracing surrender like a mantra, enter into a dialogue with it. What does it mean? What does it look like? If you were to surrender, how would you feel? How would you move through life? How would your heart and soul, mind and body feel? With the situation at hand, how would you engage differently? What are the small things you can do daily that hold a container for surrender? Consider journaling around these questions and sit with this card, with what this card means for you and how can you integrate it. So profound. Love it. All right. Now let's finish off the animal spirit guides. Animal spirit guides with one card, please, if you would be so kind. Ooh. What do you have to say to close out this reading? The transformation. Butterfly spirit transformation is beautiful. Ooh. I know for a fact I've never had this card fall out. Never. This is the first time. And what a better time than now. Let's see. Here we go. Transformation is beautiful. Joy and the beautiful lightness of being alive and creative in the world is the focus when butterfly spirit is flutters to, let me start over. Joy and the beautiful lightness of being alive and creative in the world is the focus when butterfly spirit flutters before you. Transformation is inevitable as you grow into your most beautiful, empowered self. Indeed, you will go through some uncomfortable stages as you let go of the forms of your life that no longer fit the new you. Even relationships must go through shifts to match your new emerging self. If you focus on the beauty and not the challenges, stop taking yourself too seriously and choose to be playful, loving, and joyous, you will soon know the miracle your soul wants to experience through you. Look around. Oh, today is the day for joy, so alight. Look around and see the beauty that is everywhere and in everyone, including you. Transformation does not have to be as traumatic or dramatic as things may seem to be right now. Remember, change is the only true constant. When you resist it, you create a tension within you as you refuse to accept the inevitable. In this moment, you might have forgotten the beauty and joy of life as it moves through its seasons as nature dictates. You are being faced with a choice now. You can struggle with the current conditions, refusing to surrender and see through the lens of lack and loss, or can surrender to the grace that is calling you to allow life to take its course. Moving through the sadness and disappointment, surrender will soften you, inviting you to bask in gratitude and see through the lens of curiosity. These are the keys to tuning into the infinite potential available to you now. Butterfly spirit knows the beauty and delight you are on the brink of discovering. Let go and trust that it is there for you. Got the surrender card. You have to surrender. What does that look like for you? So, my dears, I don't make this shit up. I genuinely hope that this message helped, even though it may have sounded like I was nagging, but it was necessary. And I'll see you guys next time.